Most men don't chase strength. They inherit an idea of it, they absorb it quietly through observation, expectation, and correction. Strength becomes something you perform rather than something you feel. And over time, many men confuse one particular behavior for strength, not because it works, but because it keeps them safe, at least on the surface. The problem is that what looks like strength early in life often becomes the very thing that limits men later on. The version of strength men are taught from an early age. Men learn that strength looks like staying composed, not needing help, handling things alone, being unbothered, moving on quickly. This version of strength is rewarded. You're praised for not reacting, respected for not complaining, trusted when you don't show uncertainty. And at first it works. It builds control, it builds reliability, it builds competence. But over time, it builds something else too, distance. Most men don't choose the version of strength they live by. They absorb it. Strength becomes staying quiet, handling things alone, not needing reassurance. And early on, this works. It builds competence and control. But later, that same behavior creates distance from others and from yourself. What once looked like strength slowly becomes emotional isolation. The strength that protects until it doesn't. There is a kind of strength that protects men. It keeps emotions contained. It prevents overwhelm. It allows men to function under pressure. But containment is not the same as integration. When men only suppress emotion instead of processing it, those emotions don't disappear. They wait. And they often resurface as irritability, numbness, or sudden withdrawal. Men think they're staying strong, but internally, something is being avoided. Why control gets confused with strength. Control feels powerful. It keeps things predictable. It minimizes risk. It avoids embarrassment or vulnerability, but control is not strength. It's regulation through restriction. True strength allows flexibility. Men who confuse control for strength often feel unsettled when things become emotionally complex. They don't lack depth, they lack permission to enter that depth safely. Control feels like strength because it prevents chaos, but control isn't resilience, it's restriction. Real strength isn't about shutting emotions down, it's about staying present when emotions show up. Men who rely on control feel powerful, until life asks them to feel, not manage, where this shows up in relationships. In relationships, this confusion becomes especially visible. A man may believe he's being strong by not expressing doubt, not sharing emotional strain, not asking for support, staying solid no matter what. But his partner may experience him as distant, unavailable, or emotionally absent. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's protecting an outdated definition of strength. A common pattern. A man feels pressure at work. He doesn't talk about it. He tells himself, I'll handle it. No need to bring this home. Over time, he becomes quieter, less present, more withdrawn. He thinks he's being strong. But what's actually happening is emotional load without release, and load without release becomes disconnection. Men often think they're protecting others by keeping their struggles to themselves. But unshared pressure doesn't disappear. It leaks through distance, irritation, or silence. Strength isn't carrying everything alone. Strength is knowing when to let someone see you carry it. The fear beneath the performance. Underneath this version of strength is fear. Not fear of emotion, but fear of losing control. Men worry that if they open up, they won't know how to stop. They'll become overwhelmed, they'll appear weak or unstable, so they choose composure over honesty. And over time, composure becomes a mask they don't know how to remove. Why men feel strong but not alive. Men who confuse emotional suppression for strength often say, I'm fine, and they mean it functionally. They're working, they're providing, they're managing, but they don't feel alive. Because aliveness requires emotional access, not emotional shutdown. Strength without emotional access becomes survival, not fulfillment. Men don't feel empty because they lack purpose. They feel empty because they lack emotional access. You can be disciplined, reliable, and respected, and still feel disconnected. Strength that blocks feeling eventually blocks meaning too. Where men learn this confusion, this misunderstanding isn't personal failure, it's cultural conditioning. Men are rarely taught how to sit with emotion without being consumed by it. They're taught to avoid it, manage it, or outrun it. So when life demands emotional presence, grief, intimacy, uncertainty, men default to what they know. Control. What strength actually looks like. Real strength isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's quiet tolerance for discomfort. It's the ability to say, I don't have this figured out yet. This is affecting me more than I expected. I need time to understand what I'm feeling. These are not collapses. They are stabilizers. Strength isn't emotional silence. It's emotional tolerance. It's staying present without panicking or shutting down. Men who allow themselves to feel don't lose control. They gain clarity. Why men avoid this shift? Because letting go of the old version of strength feels risky. It feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar often feels unsafe. But what's actually unsafe is staying locked inside a definition of strength that no longer serves you. If this feels uncomfortably accurate, stay here. This channel exists to help men redefine strength in a way that preserves dignity, not erases it. Rebuilding strength without losing ground. This shift doesn't require becoming emotional or expressive overnight. It starts with awareness, noticing when you suppress instead of process, when you withdraw instead of speak, when you control instead of connect. Strength evolves when men learn that emotional presence does not equal emotional chaos. Men don't need to become different to become stronger. They need to update what strength means. Strength is staying present with emotion, not running from it. And when men do that, they don't lose respect. They gain depth. Men think emotional suppression makes them strong because it once kept them safe. But safety is not the same as growth. What once protected you may now be limiting you. Strength isn't about enduring silently. It's about staying present without breaking. And that kind of strength doesn't disconnect men from life. It reconnects them to it. If this resonated, let it settle. And when you're ready, come back. This channel isn't about dismantling masculinity. It's about refining it calmly, clearly, and without shame.